faster. See what's going on. Oh, chit-chat. See what's going on. Oh, yeah. All right, let's see how that picked up. Everything's sexy at the Metro. Metrosexual? All right, so we'll start. We'll just start recording and doing whatever.
Well, how are you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I am doing great. You're looking good.
Well, thank you. Back in the studio. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know.
I've been trying to, since the beginning of the year, we talked about this last time. We were planning on the trip to Greece, and so I finally decided I'll get serious and start working out. So
yeah,
I've been working out pretty hard and actually tried this meal prep service for the first time. Because I just don't. You got the baby going crazy when you get home. Work schedule's been nuts, and so it's actually been pretty handy to help out and make sure that everything is kind of in line. But things are.
Tell me what this meal prep thing that you're doing. Is it that one that everyone's talking about online? You get the 3 meals for free, and it's every month.
No, this is a local company. So
okay.
It's just basically you tell them how many meals that you want, and they have their pre-done packages already, and so get things protein, good carb, and vegetables. So
that sounds perfect.
Kind of an easy way, and especially if you're busy like we are, it's difficult to sit there and say, okay, I'm going to cook a healthy meal. Yeah, just got it ready, throw it in the microwave, and you're good to go.
Boom. So you're getting your protein, your veggies, and all that stuff.
Trying to.
Yeah.
It's definitely been good.
That's what I got to do. Is I got to start figuring that out and get into the gym or something.
It's hard to get to the gym. I've got a place that I work out, and I worked out there for a while off and on. But it's good doing the interval training. I kind of think of it like CrossFit, but less douchey. So it's it's a good spot. And I've got a lot of friends that do CrossFit, and I love them to death. So I joke about that, but it's definitely a good spot to go and to work out. Carl Holgren's a guy who's been doing Pacific Graduate.
Oh, okay.
Doing the workout stuff for a long time.
Nice.
So, he's a good guy to work out with and a great spot to go. But as far as the gym stuff goes, like I had a real terrible experience. We had a Planet Fitness membership for a long time, and they draw you in $10 a month.
Yeah.
But they don't have a lot of stuff that's in there, nothing really to keep you motivated or going, and then they kind of sneakily keep raising the rates. So.
Oh, that's how that works.
Yeah, not so necessarily as straightforward.
As far as like the equipment, you mean, or just...
As far as the equipment, they really try, and their whole focus is that we don't want the regular workout people kind of, or at least that's the impression that you get. There's not a lot of free weights that are in there. There's not spots to really do.
Oh, okay.
If you're sticking to a good workout regimen where you're doing squats or deadlifts, there's not the machines to do that.
Oh.
So it's really just an endless sea of bikes and treadmills.
Okay, I see what you mean. So it's just cardio.
Basically.
Yeah.
They do have some free weights, some hand weights, but it's not much. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, I haven't done that stuff since college. So when I was, doing kind of the workout kind of regiment, like I took the classes at Delta, and I just kept going. Like the first one was, actually part of the curriculum that counted. And like, these don't count after that. And I was like, I just need to. It's just a good motivator because you go with people and you meet people, and then you kind of get motivated to do it. Like, they had the mats, and you did so many sit-ups, you did so many push-ups, and then it's like whatever. It wasn't regimented. It was like whatever you want to do. You want to do cardio, a little bit of cardio, but the weights were. Everything was there. Like I would just do leg lifts and things like that.
I love working out at Delta. The gym that at the time that you and I were going, the little one was like on the second or third floor there.
Yeah, was it Bud? Yeah, Bud building.
Was great because one of the assistant football coaches would go in, and it was great because it was an early morning. I could go, I think it was like 6 or 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And go, and you had your free weights. You're working out with some of the football guys and some other people, but the same thing. I took it a few times. First time for credit, and next time I was like, well, it's like $30 for the semester or $50 for the semester for a gym membership for 6 months. I'll take that.
Yeah. It was great.
And Cody and I at Pacific took it for credit, took a weight training class there at Pacific, so we got to work out at the nice fancy Bond Fitness Center.
Oh, the Bond Fitness Center, yeah.
Which was fun because the person who taught that was going through grad school and getting her master's, and she was a lot of fun. She was an assistant field hockey coach.
Oh, great.
And so it was basically like, as long as you show up, I don't care. So Cody and I would go, we'd hit the weights, play some racquetball, talk a whole lot of mess to each other. Good times.
Yeah. I can only imagine you guys doing racquetball. Did you guys pull up your socks and get the little headbands on and everything?
Cody did. Well, he had his long flowing hair.
Yeah,
and he
back then.
great, and his super high socks that he rocked.
Yeah.
That was the volleyball style back then. But boy, we talked a lot of trash to each other.
Yeah, I
when we were
know.
in there.
No, it's crazy that we met all these people like years ago, and the only way I'm ever connected with them is through Facebook, which I started last year. It's like I had a Facebook, I think, when we were going in like 08 or 09, and then I shut that bad boy down after we graduated. So I never bothered to do it. But then with the shift in kind of career change after grad school and starting to come and work with businesses, and they're like, well, we think you should have a Facebook. And I was like, well, I had a LinkedIn, which apparently wasn't good enough. Oh yeah, that's great, you have a LinkedIn. Could you get a Facebook too? And because you hear all the stories about the people that have the Facebook and then any social media, and then they go look for work in their profession or just looking for work, period. And then now all these employers are kind of, not only are they looking at your resume and the application you filled out, they get a little more, like, oh, what's going on in social media? And they look, and then you got the wrong pictures up there, and you're slamming back, Jack and Coke on your profile picture. Like, wait a minute,
throwing up some shaka bras with cerveza, and all of a sudden people are like,
yeah, and then and then they're just like, well, you don't really fit the criteria, and then it's like, well, what? I don't understand what's going on, but yeah, social media has a big part to play in those interviews now.
Facebook is such a time suck. It's such a terrible thing, but it's changed too in the last few years that it's so much more of a tool for getting your messaging and your wording out there. And Facebook remains profitable because they continue if you have a business Facebook page, people want to go check that out. So you have to be where the people are going to be. People want to go check that out, but the problem is that Facebook continues to suppress your information unless you're paying for it to get it out there. So it's a necessary thing to do.
Right. You
have to. And now you can't just sign up for a blank page. It has to be tied to a personal account.
And that was one of the things too, is I learned, working with businesses in Stockton. It's like, do you have a Facebook? Because I really need social media management. Thank God I have one, because that was the key is, they have a business page. It's easily linked. They can give me permissions and do that. So I manage a couple. But yeah, that was one of the things I saw last year when I think I created around this time. So, I'm a year old on Facebook. Yeah.
Our little boy's growing up.
Yeah. I'm coming up, Dad. We're doing big things.
It's classic.
Yeah, and that's my social. That was really my social media life. I mean, we learned it in college, and I had a fake Twitter and all that stuff, and what class was it that we had where we had to do all that multimedia stuff? We had to do a podcast, we had to do a video, a Twitter.
It was my best friend's Dr. Day's class.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I think it was your best friend.
Yeah, I built the website.
Tell you about my best friend. Yeah, he was something else, man, wasn't he? In college.
He was. I mean, we had some good professors and some bad professors.
Yeah. Well, was that now? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the same year when we went to go push for that class, having like a syllabus change. Like, I remember going and meeting the dean with you.
Yep.
I felt, like Chris was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And you were like the general, and I was just the good soldier, like, all right, yes, sir. Yeah, we're going in there. I had no idea what we're doing. And
show support and solidarity.
Yeah.
So, because it was a chaotic. My biggest argument for it was the class, obviously any class at Pacific is incredibly expensive, and that wasn't up to the standards, and everybody was like, just whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they never heard that argument before.
Right.
But I think being old too, when I went through college, I was like, no, I'm going to sit here and complain about it. Like, if this isn't up to the tens of thousands of dollars that we're going to pay throughout the years, then no, we're going to try and make it worthwhile.
And I think that's the thing too, is a lot of students don't feel that maybe they have that voice. When you really do. You really can get those petitions going, get those people rallying behind you, and stand in front of the door and get your paperwork together and say, hey, look, Dean, this is what's going on in class. I mean, they don't take those syllabus at the end of the semester for anything, like that's data. They're collecting data. Like if you notice everything at UOP, like, we did that in the mock interview just recently. They asked if we could fill out, a syllabus for how we would grade the interviewee, and actually I forgot to fill out the event one. I was like, here's all the paperwork, and Christine, was it Christine? Chris?
I don't remember.
I forgot what her name was, but she had the information in a packet, and that was the one paper and I thought she might have mentioned it or catch me before I was leaving the door, and then I in the parking lot forgot to do that one. Well.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll get it. Yeah. So we only had one person sign up, but yeah, I mean, you really have if you're going for education and you're advocate for that, yeah, speak up.
Yep,
I mean, and they tell us that even in class, just in general. I think that was one of the things that hurt me early on. Was I was so worried about being, hey, buddy, buzz me in.
Yeah,
Captain Kirk.
That's my parking thing. So.
Oh, okay.
Like get forewarned.
Yeah, that's right.
Trying to figure out parking in downtown is,
let me know when we got to get in on that, and we'll slow it down.
Yeah. Oh, but I took care of it. There's an app for that.
Nice. Technology, right? But you have a voice, and I think that's one of the things in class for me going through that experience, because I'd never been in higher education before. I mean, community college was a step up for me, but this was at a university. This was serious business, as a transfer student. So when I was going through the classes, I had no idea what Dr. Dong was like. Oh yeah, take this, this, and this. He gave me all the hard shit like at the very beginning of the semester. And I was like, oh, man, I really had to. I mean, I got through that semester, but I think one of the things I learned, either it was the first semester or my second semester there, like talking with students, that you just kind of like, as an old, I was surrounded by like people that have made the decision consciously to jump from high school into college. Yeah. I never did that. I was just kind of doing retail, whatever, fa la la la. And, then I decided, I'll just go to Delta and kind of do that thing for a while. And so I never asked questions.
Yeah.
Never did. I just was so prideful or whatever it was. I was like, I don't want to look like I'm an idiot, and that's how I felt. So then after, I think somebody had a conversation with me, and then it just clicked. I was like, I shouldn't be afraid to ask. Like, if I don't know the material, I'm screwed.
Yep.
And I can't keep relying on other students or going to them for notes or whatever it was. So, yeah, that's when I started speaking up, started raising my hand. Boom, same thing applies. And the higher education, we went, hey, this class, what's going on with this class? And it's funny because I had a teacher that I'd still sort of talked to from Heald College, and he used to teach a course at UOP. I think, what do they call them? What are the professors called? Adjunct?
The adjunct
professors. Yeah. So he would come in for a semester and teach computer science, like the very basic stuff.
Yeah.
I said, that class should be integrated with this comm class.
Yeah.
That way you're learning it from somebody who's already out there doing it, and as because he had his own business, he web design, he did all kinds of stuff, IT security, all that.
Yeah.
You're not learning that on that level, but you're learning the basic stuff that should be integrated. Because there was a lot of stuff in that course that I thought was, I don't think we need this, or I think it was a waste of time. We could have better utilized our time on something else.
I think that we could have. It's funny looking back, and we started off talking about Facebook, and one of the things that Facebook has is the memories now.
Yeah.
It shows you your posts. And I look back at some of my posts from 2009 and 2010, and boy, was I not a fan of that class.
No. Oh, really? Oh, you were posting back then?
Making all sorts of posts about that. It was interesting. But my favorite one was talking about some of the extra stuff with that, is that we had to go and buy the website. And we had to buy the website through, I think it was a Bluehost at the time or something like that. Well, I didn't realize till a year later when it auto-renewed the website, that was
Whoops.
something that was an automatic when you signed up for the website, that it would just automatically charge your card.
Yeah.
Looking at my bank account, and all of a sudden it's like, why is there $100 and change missing? Bluehost, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And luckily, Bluehost was great. They gave me a refund. They knew that it was a class project. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking, boy, this is like one last reach from beyond the grave for this.
Yeah, I know.
This class.
Yeah, well, and did I ever tell you that I was, when I was helping people, because I had more tech knowledge, and so a lot of students are coming to me for tech help, and instead of actually, I wasn't charging them for anything. Like well, I guess Dr. Day, him and I had like this big kind of confrontation in the hallway, and it wasn't like a shouting match or anything, but he basically had accused me of providing a service and charging for it to students. And I was like, I don't charge any of these students. They can come up to me and ask me whatever they want. Any questions, I'll sit down, help them with the podcast, help them with the, whatever it was, I think it was basic web coding or Photoshop. A lot of people came for Photoshop because they're like, what? Why are we doing Photoshop? And I was like, I don't know. I don't teach the class. So, that was the thing. So we kind of went to blows with that. And I was like, look, I mean, there's kind of like an attack on me, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm telling you straight up, this is how it is, letting it go, I'm out of here, my class was done, my time was done with that, so we're moving on. And we had better experiences, though, like, Dr. Hackley, Dr. Frederickson, those were... I really wish we would have had more. I felt like we didn't have enough, with time with them.
I think that there's good and bad, and with any college you're going to have good professors and bad professors. I always appreciated those ones that had the real world experience. Like one of my favorite ones, and a professor that I haven't talked to in a while, but I still remain in contact with is. Did you ever have organizational comms with Wendy Brodnick?
I did not.
So
that's one class where everybody thought I had it with them, and they would see me. I was like, I don't. That was never my advisor. I think whoever it was never said I had to take it.
I think I had Dr. Dong, and he recommended that class because he brought her in, and I love that because she had a PR firm, and that's what she does.
Really?
It's all just organizational communications, both internal and external, how to improve your business functions, how to improve your image out in the community. And I appreciated that she had that. And so those professors, you just do get a lot more out of that. Now, we're kind of in a unique field, too, in communications, where there's a lot more people that we can get real-world experience from. If you're going into a more specialized field, or you're probably going to have somebody that went through the cycle of bachelor's, master's, doctorate, back to teaching and whatever college it may be. But, I appreciated those classes, and it was good to have that mix. And like we've always said, you never had a ton of students that were in the classes anyways. Yeah. Even the mandatory ones, like the PAC-SEM, didn't have too many people that were in that. So it was always good to keep those class sizes down.
Was it our ethics one, PAC-SEM?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was always a blast, right?
It was entertaining.
I think what was great about that was you're able to take the core, syllabus material, and Dr. Hackley was able to twist it, but to twist it into a good advantage. Like, I had no idea going in. I never thought about stuff when I was in class, and I think she put me on blast, like, one of the very first weeks, like, what is ethics to you? And I was like, I have no idea. Like, what? Like, I just work retail. Like, I was like, I mowed lawns before this, I don't know. Yeah. It just never crossed my mind. And it's interesting because even in community college and at Heald, we never got that. Yeah. At Heald, it was, all right, here are all the computer parts. Tell me what they do. Can you put it together? That was our final grade, was putting it together and making sure the computer ran. It was like, here's an empty case. Boom, here's all the parts on the table. Grab what you want. It was tech security. It wasn't talking about... the other side of that, the social side, the ethics, or the
abstract that you're moving out of, instead of just the black and white. Let's dive into this big gray area. Yeah. So then that was new for me, and that's something that I won't forget, but the way she taught it was really interesting, and she let you get creative with those projects. I mean, I think we had to read a book, and then we had to go and present it, and then she put us in pairs, she put us in groups, and she kind of shook
shook things up a little bit, which made things better.
I heard some horror stories of some other classes, so I was glad that we had that one.
I am glad that we had that one. I really am, because there was another ethics course that just was film. And I was like, am I in a film class? I mean, I like watching movies, but it was kind of how does this connect with the material, with the book stuff. And they changed it. After I took that, I think enough students rallied enough to change the way the course was structured and the professor that was teaching it. Because I remember speaking with some of those sorority gals, that we ran circles with a little bit. They had to take it the next semester. It was different. They were like completely different. I was like, wow, no movies?
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, again, you do have a voice. You can, kind of rally the troops together and push that agenda for better teaching, criteria.
I think the voice thing is everybody does, and it's dependent on the individual and what they're looking for. I think a lot of what happens now and why it gets drowned out is because a lot of people feel that they have to have a voice like, my chicken in the cafeteria is dry. Yeah. So it all gets drowned out if you have 1,000 people with the minutia of the complaints that are going on. I'm not saying, mine's probably looking back on it minutia, but I was also coming from it from the perspective of, this semester's probably going to put me out of pocket a few $1,000s if it's going to take me 25 years to pay off my student loan. Probably about 3 times that amount is what I'm going to end up coming out of pocket. So, looking at it from the long-term investment standpoint, I want to make sure that I'm getting what I paid for.
Not just the kid in the cafeteria rallying for chicken. That's like his raison d'etre, right? He's like, it's chicken every day. I want this chicken. It's got to be this way, right?
Yeah.
That's it. He doesn't care about anything else.
Nothing at all. He's got the war paint on. He's ready to go.
Oh, man. Those are such good times at EOP, though. We had plenty of classes, a lot of laughs, but a lot of serious stuff, too, that we took in.
It was good. And to tell you the good and bad, you and I both stay incredibly involved with the university still, which was fun because you and I got to go do a fun little project a couple weeks ago with the students.
The mock interviews.
That was a lot of fun.
And, we had a phone conversation about it that it's weird. I'm going to be on the other side of this. Mm-hmm. I've done the mock interviews from the students, and it was weird because I was a lot older, so and I saw a lot of younger kids come in. I saw them all. I saw some of the guys that went above and beyond. I was like, where'd the kid get the money to get that tux? He's ready to go. He's not going to a quinceañera.
He's ready to dance.
Yeah. And I saw the one kid that the suit was just too big for him. As his hands are barely popping out, the sleeves are over. He was, and just seeing all the different students, and they're nervous and just like I was too. That's just a natural thing. You're going to go in there, but I learned a lot. I interviewed with, at the time, was it KVIE in Sacramento. Interviewed with them, learned a lot from the lady, as far as my resume.
Yeah.
Cleaning it up, making it more consistent, all the gaps, because I had too many extra spaces, and just kind of tightening it up and, putting things in order in a way that would, skills, try and get all your skills together. And I gave the same advice that I learned back then to the student that I talked to this time around. Because I noticed the same inconsistencies. Yeah. Why are your skills up, way down here when they should be up here? I know you're a graphic designer, so I need to see what you're familiar with program-wise. So move all that up. Make sure all your bullets are consistent. Make sure your years are all in one kind of column. And so I passed on that advice. And then of course my other interview was through Eventbrite when I did it before. So Eventbrite was Skype. Was it Skype? It was online. It was horrible because of the connection. That's where technology can work against you. Yeah. And so it's just shutting down. It's cutting out, and it wasn't even an interview at that point. Dude was so excited about like what I was writing about. You're writing about video games? That's crazy. Who does that? And I was like, me? I mean, it's the scholarly. That was my tribute to that, was for video games. So he was excited about that. I don't get that too much, but Dr. Bates, who when he shifted over as my chair, he was a hard ass. Yeah. I mean, he really was. But I'm glad he was, because I wasn't really on track with that. Yeah. Like with reference. I mean, everything you have to do in this thesis has to be like to the T. Mm-hmm. You're crossing your I's and dotting your lowercase J's. I mean, this is serious business. Yeah. Like, this is going to go and get published. It's going to be out there in academia. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be done right, or you don't do it at all. Yeah. And so with that, he was really on me about a lot of that stuff. But he did tell me, like, afterwards, people will ask you about it. So you got to know you wrote it. Yeah. So sometimes I actually will flip back through. It's like, what the hell did I write? Like, it's been a couple years now. So I mean, because it was finished in 2014. The way the cycle was at EOP is like, hey, you can only present it this time, and this time. Mm-hmm. So you miss those deadlines, you got to wait.
That was it. Yeah. It was interesting though, talking to the kids, because and I say kids now, I wasn't there that long ago, but hearing them kind of come in, I think I had kind of a preconceived notion of how the kids were going to be and how they were going to be in the interviews. And I was actually really pleasantly impressed with how they came across. Everybody was dressed very nicely. Yeah. Everybody came across very professionally. The biggest thing that I just told all of them was, I know you're nervous, and this is probably the first time this is good that you're sitting down and you're interviewing with somebody like me or any of these people that are taking time to come out here and do these interviews, but just project a little bit more confidence. And you're sitting here and you're just looking down and kind of talking into your hands and being a little bit quieter. Yeah. It's not necessarily like the easiest thing to do. So, so just that takes practice, and you're going to get that practice by coming in and doing things like that. And it's good to see those kids that will take advantage of that, because it's a cold, hard world out there.
It really is.
People are going to chew you up and spit you out, and there's a lot of competition. So it's good to get that practice and those reps in so that you can go get it knocked out later on down the road.
Exactly. And I told the girl I was interviewing too that same thing. It's okay to be nervous. You're going to be nervous. But you have to. If you're passionate about really doing graphic design and you've done work, she did work at EOP, she did work at Sac State because she was from Sac before she transferred over. I mean, get excited about it. Like, what was exciting? I mean, there's going to be some pitfalls there. We don't want to talk about those until we, come to that, because you can always use those as examples, right? Of, well, I didn't like the way this was at my job, or, you always get the pre-template, list of stuff like upper management. If coworkers not working with you on something, or you see them doing something wrong, what would you do? Yeah. And how would you approach that? So, and she had some really great answers. Instead of going, a lot of students think it's great to go to the client. Yeah. Like, oh, we're doing this wrong, or we're doing that wrong, or the team is not. No, you go to your boss first, whoever's in charge of the project, because then the client's like, I don't even know if I want this company to do my work.
That's a mess. Yeah. That's, again, your internal communications. If that's not good, then all of a sudden your project's looking pretty on the road. Yeah.
So, I mean, then that's good. And I said, hey, ask questions too. Like, as much as I know this is an interview where I'm asking you stuff, there's nothing wrong with you making a list and asking me stuff too. Yep. So that's what I did. I think when I interviewed for the Women's Center, and I didn't get the job, but I had like a list of questions, and it was, for heaven forbid they had like 50 more questions for me. They had a long list of questions, but they're really trying to pinpoint like who's going to be in this position, and I'm actually kind of glad that wouldn't have worked out for me. I don't think it would have been great to help a cause that's doing good in Stockton, because the Women's Center really does go above and beyond for everything that they're doing. But for me, it wasn't a fit.
Yeah. And sometimes it's addition by subtraction. I hate to sound so cliche on that, but do a little bit better. I think of some of the opportunities that I've interviewed for in the past and jobs I didn't get, and I'm thinking, looking back on it, oh boy, how lucky was I.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those really will surprise you. And hopefully the students, they get that, that feedback too. And hopefully the feedback that they have at EOP set in place, I don't know how they're going to present it or if they sit down with them or how that works, but I think it's really good. It's really good. And it's great. Like, I try and get them, stay involved with EOP, even though I can't get a job there. But, I still like to come back. I'd actually like to come back and talk in front of a class about some of the stuff I've seen in PR. Just, like social media, how it can work for you, how it can work against you. Like, I've within a year, I could already tell you a couple of stories where we've just kind of been like, how we solved it. But it's great to hear, like, what would they do in that situation? Throw it out there and see what they could have done.
Gotcha. Do you mind if I take a quick break?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my phone is...
They're blowing up. I can hit that red button too, right? Yeah, let's do that. All buttons on. All systems go, Captain.
We're ready to lock back in. So.
Number 1, engage. Yeah, so we were chatting about EOP stuff and interviews, mock interviews, how great it was. Now, are you actually going back, is it next month for that employee fair? Are you going to be a part of that?
I don't know if I signed up for that or not. So I know that we don't have any positions, so we don't necessarily have anything that we can go there and offer any of the students right now. But,
right.
We'll things like this, the mock interviews are always good for us too, because I'm trying to get our profile raised. I want people to be comfortable with knowing what we do professionally out in the world.
Right. No, and you've got a ton of experience, I think, in that, from the DSA to SMG now to ACE Train. So you kind of almost covering all your trade. The only thing you haven't done is you haven't worked for the big ones, the big PR firms.
Yeah, it's interesting, I guess, on those and what you're doing. Is it a marketing sales force, focused outreach work? Is it more just kind of visibility and profile outreach work? So it's kind of some different stuff that we've done throughout the different companies that I've been with.
Yeah, no, and it was fun to do stuff with the DSA, really get in your community and really see how volunteer work and all that and everything that goes into. I mean, like, I attended the meetings and it was just something. I was like, wow, look at all the stuff they have to do just to put on an event in the city. Like all the permits. You got to go with the police department's in on it, the fire department's in on it, like, all the key players and all. You have to maneuver past the gatekeepers to get in on, setting that up. And just like how many people are really involved in that. Like, and we had the walkthrough the day before too, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts. Holy cow.
So no, that's cool. I enjoyed my time there. I think I'm sure SMG, you probably have more stories about a lot of those events, and I covered the not Stockton Con, but Game Fest. So that was entertaining in itself to see but I don't know if it's coming back this year. But Stockton Con's coming back, because Stockton Con's always a great draw.
For sure. Mike's got it locked in. I remember helping him out at the first one that was there at the Spano Center, and he didn't expect as many people. He didn't expect a tenth of as many people as showed up for it. And by the time doors opened, the line to get in was stretched all the way from the Spano Center to Pershing.
Right.
So there was a lot of people that were in there. It was tight confines there in the Spano Center, but it was a great event, and it's grown. And definitely the footprint in the arena too. It's pretty snug in there as well. There's just a lot of different things that are going on, but there's a lot of people that you put on a successful event. A lot of people are going to want to come and continue to support it. So,
well, and there's a need for that too, right? I mean, because not everyone can make the commutes to the bigger cities, or sometimes it's just timing, with everything too. So, no, it's great to see that still that was a thing. No, you know what? I did go to Stockton Con this last year. That was my first one. Yeah, which was really entertaining. They had like a wrestling company out there with the ring. I forgot, and I think I've been to a wrestling show by these guys. Is it Pro Wrestling Bushido, I think? And they had something at the Impact Center years ago, like when I went. And the reason why I went is because I heard Paul London was going to be there, and he's like one of my favorite wrestlers. He's really just kind of out there, like comes in the astronaut suit, and Just really, he's really artistically, seems like a cool cat. Didn't really get to talk with him. Gave him a high five when he was coming in his suit. And I didn't have any money to buy anything off him because I think he had like photos and stuff. But it's kind of cool to see something like that in Stockton. See kind of some of the guys come through. Of course, they hang out and they go find a popular spot or a bar to chill at before they head to the next place. But yeah, and that's what happened too. I went to the wrestling show what was that, like maybe 5 months ago or 6 months ago in Stockton when it came. WWE came through. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good time.
WWE was one of my favorite shows to work, and I miss that one. That one in particular, we always had our big national touring shows. They've got their stuff together. They're in and out. They know their venues. They know their marketing. They know their stuff that they're doing. But I love to see it because it's just like such a well-oiled machine that comes in, and you've got your army of guys that come in. They set up the ring. They set up their projectors, their screen, the ramp, and get it all ready, all the chairs and the commemorative chairs that they sell for a lot of those things. But the people behind the scenes at WWE, some of the best that I worked with. I was very fortunate to work with them, and actually my rain umbrella that I've got is a little gift from the WWE.
There you go.
So Kristen hates using it, but I love it. Yeah. I'm like, honey, I've got an umbrella right here.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'll turn the logo backward. It's like, no, that was great. It's a great umbrella. It's a great gift. But they're great people. It's just great to work with, and they know the market and what they do, and they're good people. So I like that because you have a lot of people that will come out and the kids be super enthused and super fired up. But talking about great stories is that I know it's panned regularly in wrestling circles for being annoying, but John Cena does more Make-A-Wish grants than any other person. This guy just
big pop culture icon.
He is a machine when it comes to it. And we were fortunate a couple years ago to have the WWE flew in a family from Texas. Little boy was battling cancer, and it was his wish to meet John Cena, and I was helping to facilitate that. And just seeing him go in there before the show starts, and he's sitting there with the kid for like 20 minutes. The kid's so nervous he can't even speak. I mean, here's this icon he's seen on TV all this time, and John Cena's giving him autographing the shirts and giving him the wristbands, and the kid gave him a wristband of his to wear, and John Cena wore that in the ring later on. Just his interaction with the kid and his sister and his mom and dad that were there. I thought that was such a class thing to do. It was really cool to get to see that. Obviously, you wish you wouldn't have to see that or see those circumstances and know that with hardcore wrestling fans, John Cena gets panned, but that was one of those things that he did. It was amazing just to see him sit there and interact with the kids, and I mean, made this kid's life meet his hero.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what wrestling was all about when we were growing up, is just over the top, characters that, you couldn't see. It was kind of like the comic book character coming to life, which of course now we see a lot in film. We're seeing like a lot of comic book movies, but with wrestling, like we could see it. You could go to the show and you could experience that, and a lot of kids looked up to this pop, this wrestling pop culture phenomenon that had, happened, even before the 80s, but when I was growing up in the 80s, and I wasn't even really into it. I had heard about it, and then, a buddy of mine was like, he was really into it, like, and I started getting into it, like, probably early 90s, late 80s, like started kind of watching and going to like shows when they come around. I think the Civic I know UOP had a few, and they would do those at the arena, but then they also had some at the Civic Center.
They had some at the Civic, which was great. As I went to one, I was in Sacramento at the time and I don't even remember how I ended up with tickets, but ended up with tickets to this show at the Civic, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle was in his full heel mode.
Yeah,
getting the crowd riled up, and then something I had never seen before is they took the fight out into the crowd.
Really,
it was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they were knocking over chairs and people going through the crowd. It was a pretty surreal experience, and how that building handled a WWE production, I have no clue. But
I don't either.
It was entertaining.
It works.
Sure.
I went to multiple shows. I actually have a story from that one where we had tickets to a show and somebody had taken our seats and they wouldn't leave. And so we ended up going to a section that was empty. It had been empty for a while. And then people finally showed up, and then they give us a hissy fit. And so we go and find whoever was, walking around and say, hey, look, these people aren't moving from their seats, whatever. And they're just like, well, we have, how many are there? We have floor seats right here by the ring. Like, there was split up. Mm-hmm. So it was like two of us could go in one row and two of us could go in the other. So we were sort of could see each other. Because of that, we got ringside seats, like, like literally like third or fourth row from the ring.
How cool is that?
Yeah, and that was pretty awesome. John Cena was there. I know Chavo was there because he had the little horse at the time, the little gimmick he was riding around, Pepe or whatever it was. But yeah, it was that was cool stuff. I mean, that's stuff that people are into. That's like the wrestling culture's still big. It's still going. Yep. Now they got the network now. But even then, you look at the scope of wrestling, not just WWE, but now we've always had them, but now more people are aware of them. Like Lucha Underground had started a year or two ago, I think, with El Rey Network. Yeah. And then New Japan always had wrestling, but now it's like they have their own service, their own streaming service, so now it's easily accessible to get those things. Yeah. And then Ring of Honor was one I used to watch back, in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was like, it's a cool little wrestling company, and it's cool to see it. Like, now it's really kind of grown by leaps and bounds. So there's plenty of places to watch it.
There is, and I heard the WWE's minor league, what is that?
NXT? Oh, yeah.
Just like blowing up, and they've been selling out venues like crazy.
So I went to one, last year I went to 2 wrestling shows. I hadn't been to a wrestling show in years, but I went to that one in Stockton, but I went to the one in Sacramento for NXT, because I was like, I got to see an NXT show if it comes around close. So I went to one with a couple of friends. I tell you, this is probably like, that is the show to go to, because I mean, it's cool because you will see maybe some wrestlers if you're into that, the wrestling scene, you'll know or recognize some people that are there, but there's a lot of talent that you haven't seen, like a lot of new talent too. But like the crowd, the energy in the crowd is what you go for. Like, there are people out there and everyone's getting it. Like, when you hear the crowd chanting for somebody, they are up, they were at it. Like, that's like awesome. I forgot what his name was, but he's all about 10. I think he was in the Royal Rumble, and I want to say his name's Tyler something, but his whole thing is 10. His whole gimmick is 10. So he comes out, perfect 10 guy and everything. And so when he was coming out wrestling the guy, like, the crowd was going wild with 10s. Like the ref would, the bad guy would roll out of the ring, and the other guy, I think his name's Tyler Dillinger or something like that. But anyways, like, the other guy would roll out and he'd be in the ring doing his thing, and then the ref was counting 1, but everyone would be like 10, 10, 10. I was like, if I was the referee, I totally would have been thrown off on my count by now. And whenever he went to go pin, it was like 10, 10, 10. And it was crazy. And then Shinsuke Nakamura came out, and he's he was one of the big stars in Japan. He's in NXT. Huge response from him. And like, when he comes out and everyone's just going crazy, like when he comes out, like, this is awesome, like, it's just different. Like, the crowd is different now. Like, when I used to go to the Civic, it was the crowd. It's just a different crowd. Like, there's different things, there's a different energy to it, and it's kind of cool to feel that again, like, that's coming back for that. Now, I didn't really get that with the show here in Stockton, but the show is very similar in how it's produced. Is it's got the hostess and a host, and they come, they get you riled up. Hey, Sacramento, what are you doing tonight? You're at NXT and everything, and they give away stuff now. I don't know how they do it, but they had like a father and son come up, and if you can guess, like, the wrestling history, they got it on the Titantron screen or whatever, and if you can get that, they give you stuff, and so it's kind of cool. The interaction's really cool, and they do that in between matches. Like, he goes around and he's like the hype guy. He gets hyped up and
gets everyone all fired up.
He's like, look at that, what is it? And he points at the rafters above me, and so the camera guy, get a shot of that, and it's a guy, somebody was dressed up as Sting up there with the bat and everything, and the belt and the face paint and everything. It's like, Sting's come back from retirement, and he's getting all crazy. But it's stuff like that you won't get, I don't think, anywhere else from another live show. And they do, I think you're right, they do put on the best show in town. They've got a great team.
They do.
That puts everything together.
They do. They're back of house, front of house. They're top notch. It's super fun to see that. You have some of your other big productions too. Disney on Ice. they roll in circus while we had it was amazing to watch, because when you really get the idea when people use a phrase, a traveling circus, or it's because you just have this huge train that rolls into town with all their animals and all their people on it, and all the production stuff that they have to do. They've got hanging things, trapeze artists, the zoo they basically have to put out for the animals. It's a wild setup and a wild production, and it's fun to work with them too, because it's just they as well. They go from city to city. They'll set up. They're going to be there for the next 7 days, do their run of shows, tear it all down. They'll be gone before midnight and on to the next. And so it's fun to see that, and those big traveling ones. Feld is the big, WWE does all the wrestling shows, but Feld is the big one that does the circus, Disney on Ice, motocross. They have a couple of monster truck rallies too. Those are real fun to put together.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I haven't really been to or checked out any of those, but just the production and the time that goes into it. I mean, they have to have what? How many people do you think work on that crew?
I mean, for circus, they travel with, and which is a bummer that we don't have the circus, and we don't have the circus anymore. Stockton kind of shot themselves in the foot to make sure we wouldn't get the circus anymore. Yeah, and then and now the circus is going away because of the they've not saying necessarily losing money, but it's expensive when you're traveling with, on your setup, maybe 300 people that are coming for setup, and they'll turn around and this person will do setup, they're setting up their booth, then they'll turn around and sell concessions or something during the show, and do the tear down and leave on their way. So everybody kind of has dual roles. Then all your performers that are there, all your animals. It's an expensive show, so you've got to continuously hit good benchmarks. But for Stockton to say that we're okay to miss out on 20,000 people going to see a run of 6 or 7 shows is a little rough for that, because that was always a good hiring show for the venue. Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I remember going to the show when I was a kid, at least a couple times when the circus would come to town. Actually, they would set up behind the mall. Or one year they set up behind Weberstown Mall, right? Behind J.C. Penney's. There's like where that area, there's like Circuit City used to be in that little area, and then there was like I think it wasn't a gym at the time, it was something else, and then they would set up because parking was really easy. Yeah, right there. No kidding.
Yeah, I remember going there once. That's the only circus show that I remember going to when it was in town. But yeah, it was incredible. Not just popcorn and cotton candy, baby.
No way.
Yeah, no, that's fun.
The thing that always, one of my favorite memories of the circus, and I love this, is just working behind the stage, is you have, they have a lot of high wire gymnasts, and you're talking about people that have competed at a high level as well, people that have competed in international competitions. I mean, these aren't slouches. These are people that are very good at what they do, but we'd go and do early morning PR. We'd have TV stations and radio come out and help us give just kind of that last little extra push before the show. And you've got this little Russian gymnast. I mean, she's 5 feet tall and heels maybe. And she's going and she's like doing all her acrobatic acts and things like that, and walks outside and lights up a heater. And I'm thinking to myself, these things this does not match. What the hell did I just watch? Yeah. Is it you went and just did something that I could train for 100 years and never even get close to doing, and just went outside and lit up a heater like it was no big deal.
Are you ever worried about that in PR, that I ever get, now like with the, it's changed so much, but now everybody's got a phone. You ever worried about things like that when you're putting those kind of things together, like somebody happens to walk by or something happen, like you're not on point with something and all of a sudden they just happen to be recording it and then boom, it's on.
Well, it did happen to us. Unfortunately, there was a former and I hesitate to even call him a reporter for News 10, but he always had his chip on his shoulder about the venue, so he was always looking for kind of ways that he could kind of like throw dirt on us. And we had one of the ways that the arena and the venue made money is that we had private rehearsals, is that touring companies would come in if we had a block of time, and they set this up well in advance, but if we had a block of time, that they would come in and they would do rehearsals, because it's quiet, you're out of the limelight, you're not looking at cameras or reporters or TMZ on the sideline in Stockton, you're just not seeing that. So we get those. Well, he caught wind because there was a server who happened to serve one of the artists. It was REO Speedwagon in Chicago were the two acts that were practicing in the venue. And a server at what was French 25 was serving the people, and she turned around and told this news station. And so this guy called and asked, and I'm bound by a confidentiality agreement that I can't tell you who's performing, just there's a private rental. And so he busts in, he manages to sneak in through a back door of the venue and records on his cell phone a video of the band. I mean, it was just... And I mean, I'm not a big fan of his or his methods and how he went about it. Just knowing, because that hurts us too for booking those in the future. There's a lot of those places like to maintain their privacy, but that's a big thing for us. Is that at least with our team and our staff that work there, is there's no, if you were backstage and you wanted to snap a selfie with an artist, it was an automatic termination. And I think that's a great rule to have in place. You don't want to, they're professionals, we're all professionals. You want to get in there, go do your job, and get back out. So, but it is something that you worry about, that someone's going to catch something that not necessarily that you just...
Well, and I just meant like in the hands of the general public, but I mean here it is, and the example you give with the professional, and that kind of goes back to our ethics class, and different things like that, and how how you are as a professional, and how you're out there all the time, that credibility and that rapport that you build up over time, over years and years of handshakes and face to face and thank you letters and whatever you're doing. Instantly can just kind of rub people the wrong way if you do that one thing. That's the line that we get to walk, buddy.
That is it. You can go one way or go another. So
yeah, and I don't know if there's anyone that's really kind of has a story like that where they've kind of maybe made a comeback at some point. I don't know anybody that to my knowledge, but
it's tough for us here in Stockton too, because we're a large city, but we don't have a lot of media coverage. The Record, I think, and full disclosure, I work with them a lot, but I think does a great job for the resources that they've got in covering what we've got going on here.
Right.
The problem is we share a TV market with Sacramento. Now, being a city of 300,000, if you're talking about just city limits, or 350 if you're talking about those county pockets as well.
Right.
We just don't have necessarily a dedicated morning show that's focused on Stockton news or Stockton topics, or a TV station that's focused. So we kind of get, for lack of a better term, Sacramento's crumbs. That the big things that are going to get covered is you have some people that would Heather Brent did a great job when she was at Good Day Sacramento, that she would come out and she'd cover these events, monster trucks, Disney on Ice, she'd always be out there. She's looking for good positive stories. And she still does that to this day, good positive stories to cover Stockton. But the way that you get ratings and get people watching, if you're only going to cover one city in your territory for a 2-minute segment, well, which one is going to have the biggest impact? Well, probably the shooting.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what hurts us a lot too, is that we kind of sometimes with some of the other reporters is that we'll basically be very thankful that we're getting any coverage at all for that. And I think that Stockton can demand and do better if we just cover ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know we're here, the positives and the negatives that come with any city, though, not just Stockton. I think it just gets more negatively amplified if you're talking about a 30-minute news segment that's down to 21 because of commercials, and you're down to maybe 1 or 2 30-second segments on your city. Well, the stuff that's going to be newsworthy is if there's a body that hit the floor.
Of course.
Not to sound callous or terrible.
Well, no, I learned that too when I started doing, because before a lot of people are surprised that I did graphic arts at Delta College, which shifted after, and I did journalism. So I took journalism with this amazing Professor Bill Davis. I'll never forget.
I had Bill Davis.
You did too?
At Delta.
Yeah, and he's phenomenal. He talked about like all his stories when he was a journalist. Was it a Moab? Was it
Moab? Yeah.
Was it Utah?
Utah.
Yeah. So he if you don't know him, he's great. He's a great teacher. He's a great listener. I learned a lot from him. I guess we must have just missed each other when we were taking that course, but I learned all that because of his stories. He's just, unfortunately what you may think is newsworthy is, not going to make it. Those are fluff, the stories. Those are, if we had no news today, if there was no bad news, if there was no shootings, no accidents, or whatever it might have been, that gets run.
Yeah.
And, but for the majority, it's, all the other stuff, all the bad stuff is going to get run first.
And it's kind of a fundamental understanding of just how the media that you're consuming, how that gets sold to you or presented to you too. Is just understanding, like, no, there's not necessarily an agenda. I think that's kind of an easy cop out. It's just in the structure of how things go. When we're sharing a market, for lack of a better term, there's not lack of a better term.
There's no dancing around that.
We are sharing a market with Sacramento. That makes it tough because if we don't have a TV presence or a radio presence, or if the record is our only presence in that, then we're kind of losing that battle.
Yeah. Yeah, so I definitely learned a lot about that because he would bring in people from the record, and then of course Dave Fredrickson would also tell us, you're in that weird pocket of Stockton that the media coverage is kind of what is it? Like, you've got the record, but what else do you got? What else do you have? You could reach out to Fox 40 and get, maybe get something on there, maybe, but, he gave me some ideas, Good Day Sacramento was one of them too, but it's just, it's like it's a fight. It's tooth and nail, if you're going to get on there or not with something that's positive in the city.
And that's why I think it's important to do stuff like this.
Exactly.
And talking. I mean, there's another podcast with my old buddy Dan is doing. It's not nearly as good as this one.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm throwing down the gauntlet and letting you know it's not nearly as good as this one, but it's good that we're doing that and having those conversations, because I think that just gives another voice and another ability and another outlet for people to hear about the good things that are going on and know about some of the fun projects we've got going.
Right, exactly, and that's why this project kind of started, and I think that's something that you had mentioned earlier on. Been hustling, I've been trying to get things together, and so for us, this is our second recording here. Unfortunately, we don't have our good friend Brian to record with us, but I know you wanted to get in on it at some point to kind of chat with us too, but we're working with a lot of people in Stockton, a lot of great people that are interested in this project. Like I've literally sat down with tons of people to pitch it, and maybe had some roadblocks here, but for the most part, everyone's willing to give an ear and listen. And we have the 1850 Collective, it's a group of artists from Stockton that have made their own little organization, and so they're interested in it, and they want to record a session with them, just them, and then we also have Good Stock Productions, which is, doing great things. They've shifted from downtown to the Miracle Mile. So, they're known for stock market, but they're also doing that, collaboration with the Hagen Museum.
Yep.
So they're doing great stuff. 2017 is starting off with a bang, and they're knocking them out of the park. The first one I went to had over 200 people. I wasn't able to make the second one because I'm part of the entrepreneurship program with the Downtown Alliance, which is also a great, they're a champion for this as well. They just want to hear what we have to say before they make a decision. But, I've presented it to them. They're interested. So a lot of big organizations, in Stockton that are they're either growing or have been established, that are willing to look at this and say, hey, what you guys are doing I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, once you get content rolling and people can listen to it, then, we'll start blasting you out on social media and giving you, full support. Yep. So Hagen Museum's also interested too.
And they're a great resource, and Susan and Todd and all of them at the museum, they do an excellent job with with what they're doing. They're going through some, I know I mentioned it last time, but through some renovations. So there's a lot of fun stuff to come for them too.
Yeah, and so they're definitely interested too, and really it's not something that I had thought about originally. I mean, so kind of give you a backstory of how this kind of came about is that, you know, we know a little bit about the Diff Club from 2002 when my friend Brian put that together, and you know, he's no longer with us, but that was kind of something that we always look back on. We had the magazines. We had Diff magazine was what we created. We had the T-shirts, and I remember years later, a buddy of mine was working. You know, he was part of that project. He worked with GameStop as a assistant manager, and they, you know, sometimes send them to E3. Mm-hmm. And I think he had the Diff or the Diff shirt on or something, and somebody recognized it. Oh, no kidding. I read your magazine, man. Are you guys still putting any more out? Or I don't even know how he got the magazine, or you know, it wasn't like in heavy circulation because I'll be honest, we were printing those out of the Delta art class. You know, we were just hammering them out, and then somebody's like, "Where's all the paper going?" But we created that. I was a part of Moot magazine because when Brian put together all the documentation, like your treasurer officer mission statement, all the fun stuff that, you know, Delta College wants you to have as a club. We have an advisor. Here's our founding members, and I would go to a couple meetings with him. We just weren't recognized on the board of that committee for the student clubs, and he could never figure it out, and he had some conversations. Well, we got this fun letter that kind of stated, you know, we didn't meet these requirements or the deadline or whatever, and now it's a moot point. And we kind of looked at each other like, what does moot mean? Like, we had no idea. We looked it up, and then Brian was like, let's make a magazine called Moot, just under Diff. Yeah. You know, it's part of the Diff Club and everything, and so we created that. And really, same thing like it was with the other magazines. It was, you know, we had started integrating pop culture to our magazine, but it still covered the community. Like, Brian still was able to capture Lodi and Stockton, and he would go out and take pictures and talk with people, and you know, he talked with the professor from Delta College, and his stories in there. And so we had like the same idea of the community and the arts and everything like that, because there's a lot of cool pictures of Lodi in there, of like graffiti and other things that are really cool. And he talked to like musicians and stuff, and so that's kind of where the idea came from. And then after, you know, everybody kind of split apart and things happened, we were working on a podcast, working on Hardcore Casual. I think was our first one. I think we were doing that one. I think I had met you at UOP, which was really just like a gaming podcast, and it was kind of in its own little bubble, and we were just kind of figuring things out at that point. And then moved on, and we did another podcast, Kings of Compassion, which was more kind of open and more talking about discussions in pop culture, but just not about the community. Like, we were missing something. Like, we were talking about stuff that was happening in the news, but not things that were happening in our city. And of course, there's like backstory about why those titles were chosen, but that was on iTunes. We had like 10 episodes on iTunes. That was when we first started. Like, let's try and like push it, you know, and stuff, and figure out how to get it up there. And so then that's there. I don't know if it's still available on iTunes. I want to say it is, because I think I pulled it up on my podcast app the other day. I was like, oh, it's still there. And then Jacob and I had created Bits and Pieces, and what Bits and Pieces was just. It was kind of essentially the broken pieces of after everybody left. Of like, let's do something, and that's not where the name comes from. The name it's an inside joke with Jacob. Is whenever I ask him about certain things about pop culture, did you read that comic, or did you watch that movie or that TV show? He's always like, well, I shot Bits and Pieces of it or whatever. Like, he didn't actually. He's heard of it. He's seen a little bit of it, but he just never watched it or read it in its entirety. That's funny. So that's where that name comes from, and we created episodes that are on YouTube. You know, we've posted them on Facebook, but we're no longer doing that because we want to focus on this, which is on a grander scale, involving more people. But you know, it's something that I've really kind of pushed for, and trying to get everybody, rally the troops together and say, hey, look, this is kind of cool. I mean, I know there's podcasts, you know, recorded here in Stockton, but no one's really reached out to me. I've reached out to them and said, hey, you know, I know you have the podcast Stockton. What's going on with that? Nothing. Haven't heard anything. You know, Somebody told me there was another podcast. Sounds like your buddy Dan's doing one. So it's just, I don't think, nobody knows enough about them, and the organizations I'm reaching out to don't have a presence on podcasting.
Yep.
They're doing flyers, they're doing social media, they're doing Instagram, they're doing all those things. It's just like they just don't have, probably the budget or whatever it would be to get, to do radio. Or maybe some people think that radio is obsolete, which podcasting is pretty big.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, that's what people are listening to at work while they're pounding away at the keys. Nobody's got a radio anymore. They're listening to podcasts, or they're streaming it at least. So it's definitely a good medium, and I think that this provides a good way to kind of get more of that in-depth knowledge of some of the projects that are going on.
Yeah, and that way people can hear more about what's going on in their community, or hear more about other places, other organizations, or like, what is stock market? I have no idea what that is. It's like, it's coming in April. I think that's the set date for stock market is April 17th, I want to say.
Nice.
April tentatively, but I don't know the actual hard date. But yeah, normally it's every third Saturday, of the month. But they pushed it back, I think, and the weather has not been right. Really.
Yeah.
If we were doing
pretty ruthless.
If they were doing stock market out there, it would be, usually on a rainy weekend. So, and then we saw that last year. I don't know if you ever went out to one to check it out.
I haven't had a chance with a little one yet, but I'm anxious to go check it out. I've heard nothing but good things.
Well, yeah, it's been great. I've probably attended 3. I actually worked one because I actually promoted for Puentes, which, Puentes is the organization that they're growing.
The organic, City Farm.
Yeah, City Farm on the Burt's Bees track farm. Boggs Tracks. There it is. Burt's. Boggs. Whoops.
Edit that out.
Yeah, I edit that out. But that was something I was helping promote at Stock Market, and then I think the next couple of times I just showed up. Like, I didn't promote anything. I just kind of wanted to see what it was like, because I didn't really get to go around too much. Once you set up the booth and everything, then people start shuffling in, and then you gotta figure out how are you going to get them there. And it's another great way to network with people you've never networked before. I mean, sometimes you get those real slow periods and you're talking with vendors.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what do you do? And so there's actually a couple from San Francisco that was doing soap, which is really cool, the little bath bomb things, which I guess are really popular. So making, money there, which is great. And that was their first time in Stockton. I was like, well, they're like, where are the spots to go in Stockton? I was like, you're here. I mean, Miracle Mile is a great spot. I mean, you still got downtown, you got Lincoln Center, UOP. I think actually she was saying that a family or a relative was from going to UOP or something like that. So, of course, haven't they promoted that? That's like one of the nicest campuses on.
Always whatever college review I think it is. It's always
up there,
very high up there.
Yeah, and I noticed that everybody takes photos there. Like, I've seen you you've snapped some photos out there.
Several.
So yeah, man, that's good chatting with you. We got to wrap it up.
Yeah, I gotta run back.
Yeah,
but, it's good chatting, and I'm glad this project is off and running, and I think there's only good things to come.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the Co-op. Hey, let's go up. Yeah. Thanks for coming down, Chris. We do this every Tuesday on the Metro. Now, where can people find you?
They want to follow me on Twitter, just at Chris_the_Greek.
Great. That's awesome. I love it. And you got an Instagram? Do you do Instagram?
Yeah, Chris the Greek 209, but I don't do it.
Okay. All right, good. And you got if people want to contact you through email?
Just Chris K on air at gmail.com.
There it is, Chris K on air. And I'll also be getting that set up too. So if you can't find Chris there, we'll have a Gmail set up for the Co-op project.
Awesome.
So yeah, man.
Good chatting with you. Tell people.
Yeah, tell everybody. Tell your friends.